I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down. He should calm down.
I saw he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Look, Eddie Hearns say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearns says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber! Wanda! Let's go, baby! Let's go! I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got drunk, man.
No, you won the fight.
OMG. I am so excited.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another semi-daily, weekly edition of the show. Live on YouTube, obviously podcast form. Eventually back up. Our podcast feed is down at the moment, but we will be back up on all podcast feeds shortly, probably this week, because we just got all of our money in from YouTube and Patreon, so now we can pay for our podcast distributor again. Yay! Air horns for that, because that was fucking stressful last week. But digressing, I'm Matt Hipster Hunter. Going to be talking about Canelo Alvarez and him fighting a tune-up, I guess. Terence Crawford saying fuck no to pay cuts. Shout out to Terence Crawford. Air horns for him. I hate the idea of a bunch of people in the media telling fighters to take pay cuts during this pandemic. Makes no sense to me. Mayweather back fighting in Japan, allegedly. Julio Cesar Martinez out. I mean, this is a weird show, I'll be honest. The list of topics here are odd. And also, I'll be back on tomorrow with the MMA show, breaking down, obviously, the UFC 251 pay-per-view numbers and all the other shows that happened last week as well. But I'm joined on this show by the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary, how are you, man?
It's gonna be a good show today. We're gonna make the most of this, right? We're gonna turn $1 out of 15 cents, so to speak. Here, no sneaker review today, unfortunately. Oh, you got Tupac on your shirt, Matt?
Thank fucking God, man. That was
that was so good. PSK loved it. Shout out to PSK if he's in there, saving the show last time. You got Tupac and Biggie on your shirt?
Of course.
Okay, I just noticed that.
Famous New York photo.
Okay, yeah. Let's get started.
I guess, man. I'll be honest. I almost didn't do the show today, Gary. I got the new video game, Ghost of Tsushima. I've been watching like old samurai movies lately. I'm like, fuck boxing. We're talking about Canelo Alvarez, Jason Quigley. What?
The three of y'all, you, Fu, and Rob, talking about video games. I don't play any video games. I used to play video games in college, like Madden and Live, and I was like the worst video game player in the world. So I'm like, I'm done with this. Like, I can't. Like, I would lose to everyone. We'd have Madden tournaments. I don't think I ever won a game. I lost one game 3-0 in a Madden.
I sucked at all sports video games in like my fraternity, like Madden, FIFA. The only one I was like semi decent at, surprisingly, was like MLB The Show. Surprisingly, you know. Because like it's easy, you know, hit X, you hit the strike, like it's fucking easy, like it's not that hard. But Madden, I fucking suck.
Madden, they're calling hot routes and stuff. Like, whoa, this you guys slow this down. Slow.
They're hitting like L2, R2, like doing like all the hot routes. Like no, whoa, slow it down. I have no idea what's happening right now. Speaking of having no idea what's happening right now, who the fuck decided Canelo Alvarez versus Jason Quigley was like a thing? Let's talk about this, Gary, because I think we have to some degree.
Yeah.
I don't think this is happening, but I mean, who knows? It could happen, right, Gary? I mean, it could be the fight of September, right? The Mexican Independence Day showdown. One ginger versus another. Gary, your thoughts?
Oscar absolutely loves this Mexico versus Ireland thing. This Mexican versus Irish non-rivalry that he thinks is a rivalry based on a one Wayne McCullough fight from 30 years ago. I mean, this is a possibility because Oscar loves this. I mean, he did it with Munguia and Spike O'Sullivan, right? Like, he really likes this. He thinks it's a big deal. And unfortunately, because we may get more of it, that fight sold really well in San Antonio. I don't know. I think it's a possibility. I don't think this will come to reality. I think there'll be a lot of pushback against it because it's obviously ridiculous. If I was the commission, I wouldn't even approve it. But like I believe they're in negotiations with him. I think Oscar likes it. But if you were the commission, would you approve this?
I mean, is he even like? I don't think he's ranked in any of the top 15, right, of any sanctioned body right now. Is he?
I mean,
I want to say I saw that somewhere that he wasn't ranked in any of the sanctioned bodies.
I feel like they could take care of that, right? Like all of
They
a sudden,
could.
in August he's ranked. Yeah,
Absolutely. But in speaking of like, should the commission accept this fight? No, God no. But I will say this: the commission accepts a lot worse fights. So like, shouldn't they? Really isn't part of the equation here. Will they or won't they? Probability. I think probably we get a Canelo Jason Quigley fight if Canelo signs on to it. I am a little bit skeptical whenever we hear nowadays of Canelo's team or Canelo wants this. And is that really Canelo? Is it really Canelo's team? Or is it Oscar and Eric Gomez and Golden Boy? Because even though that's their promoter or his promoter, they're not really the same team right now. So I'm a little bit skeptical of what this is and how legitimate this is. I know Willie Monroe Jr. is back in discussion. I've seen a few articles today about that. I think, speaking of, because we're going to talk about this the next topic, but before we get to that, obviously, pay cuts. With Canelo, in my opinion, and what I'm theorizing is not taking a pay cut because he's probably going to say, fuck you to Golden Boy, and maybe a little bit DAZN too, who he thinks have conspired against him in some way, because that's why he told him to open up the books and look at their deal in particular. But I highly doubt we get these fights because, again, it's going to be DAZN forcing such a low barrel of option because Canelo won't take a pay cut. They can't afford a Billy Joe Saunders right now, or they don't think they can afford Billy Joe Saunders right now or Callum Smith. So they're looking for the Quigleys and the Willie Monroes. But I don't think Canelo wants that. Right? Like, this is like the worst opposition he's faced in some time if he's facing these guys.
I mean, this is worse than Rocky Fielding. I don't know that ever since we saw Canelo. Yeah. I mean, is he worse than the first fight we saw was against Cotto's little brother, older brother on the Mayweather Mosley card? It's kind of like the first time we really saw him. Is this? I mean, that's probably a better fight. Matthew Hatton was real
Matthew
bad.
Hatton. I was going to mention Matthew Hatton.
Carlos Baldomir was 100 years old when he. Okay, I mean, but we're going back years and years to find out. When he was like 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, like, even like the Amir Khan, like, obvious tune-up that was is light years better than the Jason Quigley fight.
Absolutely, Khan was at least skilled. Jason Quigley, come on.
I remember watching Jason Quigley go life and death with Glenn Tapia. Right? Like, we don't need to see this at all. And I'm curious as to how successful of a true relaunch of DAZN this would be. Because I know we have the Verge Ortiz fight this weekend that is technically DAZN's first fight back, first sort of a sporting event back in the U.S. that I can think of. So we are getting this in terms of DAZN content back. But Canelo fight in 2 months is the big opening of DAZN worldwide again, allegedly. So is this really the fight to sell DAZN in this pandemic? I mean, when we see, not to give the UFC any props, but I mean, look at what the UFC has done in terms of quality events. This is a shit fight, and I assume the rest of the undercard's gonna be shit too.
If they're asking people to take pay cuts, I imagine they can't afford an expensive B-side, so they have to find someone who will take the fight. I don't want to say for cheap because it's still Canelo, so it's still going to be a 7-figure payday, right?
I mean, let's hope.
So I mean, look, if they were Charlo or Triple G or Billy Joe or Caleb Smith, and they're still negotiating with Smith, but that's going to be expensive. I hope they make it. I think it's a fun fight, but it's going to be Ryder or Quigley, or I don't think it'll be Quigley. I don't think Canelo will sign on to fight Quigley because it's so ridiculous. It might be Ryder or Monroe or something like that, where it's like, the guy's pretty good, or Lemieux, because people like Lemieux because he's got pop, right? Like Lemieux,
former champion. At least he's a former champion. I mean, Quigley is not even. He's never been in the top 15 of this division
ever. Top 20. Jason Quigley.
David Lemieux was legit top 5 middleweight at one point in time. That did happen. It was probably more of an indictment on the division's depth at that time more than anything. But he was a top 5 middleweight. Quigley wasn't ever.
And look, he's not going to catch Canelo, but when you have the pop up, and Lemieux's got really good pop. So if you have that kind of pop, you're always going to be a threat. Like Julian Jackson, although Julian Jackson was really good. So that's like Randall Bailey, right? A guy like Randall Bailey or Kendall Hall. You got a lot of pop. You can catch people. And Lemieux's kind of got that. But I mean, with Canelo, obviously he'd be out of his element. He was out of his element with Triple G. Triple G's not a mover.
Honestly, the only Quigley I want to watch is Quigley Down Under, which is a classic fucking movie, by the way. Just want to point that out. Gary, have you seen Quigley Down Under?
I've never even heard of it.
What? The classic Tom Selleck movie? Oh my God. I think Alan Rickman's the bad guy in it. Yeah, Alan Rickman's the fucking villain. You've never seen Quigley Down Under?
I never even heard of it, man.
Oh my God, Gary, go and watch this movie. It's like a 1980s like Western movie in Australia. It's fucking fantastic.
Okay.
And again, Alan Rickman's the bad guy. And whenever Alan Rickman's the bad guy, it's Die Hard in Australia with Westerns, with cowboys.
So do they have, I guess, like Australia's a really big country with a lot of nothing in the middle, like America, but way more. So I guess they have, like in America, most of the population is on the coast. And then there's not, Australia's like that, but even more so, right?
I would assume so to a degree. Yeah. Like you get like the Mississippi where you get like a lot of, Yeah,
you got you got Chicago, Denver, Dallas, Houston. You have some cities, but like you also have a whole lot of nothing. Iowa, Nebraska,
Absolutely. Go watch Quigley Down Under. Underrated movie, by the way. Underrated. There's a whole like dingo fighting scene, which is like actually like super dramatic, surprisingly, but it's worth it.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Well, there's a baby in the scene that the dingoes are trying to eat. So it's dramatic, man. Okay.
Is that what that's from? Like I've always heard that. No, maybe the dingo ate your baby.
No, it's not from that movie.
Oh, all right. I have.
In terms of like Australian movies, Quigley Down Under might be number 2 behind Crocodile Dundee. Like that might be just the reality of it, guys. Okay. Because I mean, what other Australian movies are there? Sorry, Liam Roscoe, who's a good Australian listener. I might just be ignorant on Australian cinema.
Did you ever see the Australian show Summer Heights High?
No, I vaguely remember the name.
Okay. I forget the actor's name, but he played all the characters. And there was like Jonah from Tonga and the music teacher who was ridiculous, Greg Gregson. And then he played a girl.
Wait, was this a real, like, was it cartoon? Or?
No, it was a real show, but he just dressed up like all the different characters. Was
it like a skit comedy show?
Kind of, yeah, where he did 3 different bits, right? Like, it was funny. Like, it was so stupid funny. Like,
I'll look it up. But digressing, Canelo Alvarez, please don't fight Jason Quigley. Or I'd rather him just not fight, to be honest, than fight Jason Quigley. And to the point of who was it with the super chat? Scott Brown. Oh, we'll get to that after this. Then I thought it was related to DAZN. Never mind. I think Dwayne had a comment about like, should we pay for DAZN right now? I would say if you want to see fights, then you can see a couple fights that are coming up. Like we have a Ortiz fight coming up this Friday. If you want to pay for DAZN and watch that, go for it. If you don't. If a Canelo Alvarez fight against whoever intrigues you, then pay for it that month. I would definitely not pay for DAZN yearly right now. I'll be honest. There's no point.
That ship already left the dock.
I mean, unless like if you're let's say your yearly subscription's running out this month or next month, I would maybe hold off and then just play by year and see what fights are happening within the month and go by then. But moving on, Terence Crawford. Gary, can you get that article up for me by chance, please? Terence Crawford saying, "I'm not taking a pay cut. It's in my contract." Let's read this quote from him as Gary pulls up the article from Manuk Akwapayan from Boxing Scene. My contract states I'm not taking any pay cuts. If we have to fight for the minimum, so be it, Crawford told ESPN. With the fans unable to come to the fight, I don't know how that would fare against any top welterweight in the division. When you look at the whole landscape of the whole thing, it's going to come down to money. And if you can't provide the proper money for each fighter, then how is it going to make that fight happen? But as far as pay cut on who we're fighting, Manny Pacquiao's a fight that we're still currently looking forward to getting. Doubtful, in my opinion. Like I said, the pandemic has messed up a lot of things as far as money. Manuk Akwapayan writes, the Nebraska native Crawford earned over $4 million in his purse against Aegidius Kavalauskas last September. $4 million for that fight. He got paid $4 million to fight Mean Machine. That is so upsetting. Gary, did you just add yourself? I'm so confused what happened. What happened, Gary?
I clicked. I instead of clicking the Terence Crawford article, I clicked I closed out of everything. Rookie mistake. We'll fix that in the future. It was a rookie mistake.
So you close out all the articles?
No, I can restore it so it's back up. But hang on.
It's God bless you, Gary. And also, Crawford made $5.5 million against Amir Khan. Yeah, if I'm Crawford making that type of money, I'm not taking a pay cut, especially during a pandemic. I mean, we just heard that your boy Guido, right, tested positive for COVID.
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, Dan Rayfield just reported that today. So I think he was supposed to fight tomorrow, right?
Yes, Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, he's off that card. And if you're a top level fighter right now, if you're one of the best in the world, why would you risk your health and your lungs right now? Like, even if you're not worried about dying, just like permanent damage to your lungs. If you're a top 5, top 10, or any sort of top athlete in the world, you're not going to risk that. Especially if you're being asked to take a pay cut to do it. That just is not ridiculous. And again, he's making $4 million against tune-ups like Kavalauskas. He's still going to be asking for that against these low-level guys that he's probably getting offered. I know he's talking about Manny Pacquiao, but that fight's not happening. That fight's not happening when we're out of this pandemic. Like, that fight is just not happening, period. Manny Pacquiao does not want the smoke. Even though he would actually probably give Crawford a lot of issues.
He didn't want that smoke at 140 years ago.
Sorry, Rob saying Guido's opponent popped. Sorry, apologies. Not Guido, but his opponent popped. Still, okay. I mean, if you're seeing fighters pop left and right at events, I'm not risking my health. Fuck that.
We're talking about pop like it's a drug test or something. He went to his PO and popped dirty.
I know we've been like using that like lexicon a lot. I feel like we shouldn't, but like fuck it, it's funny. It at least leads a little bit of light to the situation because like it is serious. Like that opponent for Guido, like let's say he never recovers from it. He's healthy, he gets past it, but like his lungs are never the same. He can never compete in boxing at this level ever again. It ruins his career. Like that's a legitimate possibility and probability actually with a lot of these athletes getting COVID. So if I'm Crawford, I'm sitting this out. I'm staying safe, man. I'll be honest. If I'm any of these top athletes, I'm not risking it. If I have guaranteed money, no.
We know that Guido is the future of the heavyweight division. That's something that we do know. So, I mean, there's a lot on the line for my boy Guido. He's going to be the first Italian heavyweight champ since Rocky Balboa.
He was no. Wait, is Guido like full Italian or Italian American?
No, he's from Italy.
Okay.
He barely speaks English. Well, I mean, he speaks it, but it's really broken.
Oh, then Rocky doesn't count. He's Italian American. Sorry.
Oh, let's not have this debate again.
Can Rocky even speak Italian?
Probably not. Way worse than me. Like Kobe Bryant, me, Coach D'Antoni, and like Rocky would be like way down here. Like he'd know a few phrases. I was shocked how good Kobe spoke Italian. Like he had an Italian reporter after his last game when he retired, and he was carrying on a full conversation. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I forget how many languages Kobe could speak. I think it was like 4 languages almost. It was a lot for
like his dad played professional ball in Italy, but he only lived there for like I don't know however long his dad played ball, a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. I was like, oh, that's impressive. Like Italian is a language like if you live in like Spanish that people, you know, there's a lot of Spanish speaking, or if you live in certain areas, you know, like the Chinese languages are commonly spoke. Like who speaks Italian in this country? Like there's a handful of people, like, you know, so it's not something that it's something that you lose is what I'm saying, because you don't really use it every day.
Unlike Spanish or the languages.
Right. Yeah.
Which Kobe could also speak. He could speak Spanish.
He probably does because it's a pretty easy language to pick up if you speak Italian.
No, he did. I mean, his buddy, his best friend, Pal Gasol, they spoke Spanish to each other.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, there's a picture the other day of Paul visiting, you know, the family and all the kids. Oh man, it made my heart just like break. I was such a fan of those two. Like that, even though like I was around during Kobe and Shaq, I was so young when it happened, so I didn't have like the truly personal connection with it. Like I wasn't an adolescent growing up, you know, during it and being a fan of it. But the Paul Gasol and Kobe Bryant team up, and them getting that the 2 rings at the end, like that shit, I was there for, man. I remember going to those games. Like that shit was amazing. So Paul Gasol, always in my heart. Briefly, Scott Brown, or briefly going back to boxing, I guess, since we have to talk about boxing. Scott Brown saying Crawford should be fighting Ugas. I mean, I've been saying that for a while. That's the fight to make. It's the easy fight to make, in my opinion, too, because Ugas is not a high. He's not a high earner. He's not somebody that cost you a lot to bring over to ESPN, and I think PBC would send him over. I think Al Heyman would send him over. He's completely like a Felix Diaz Jr., where he would be sent over to an ESPN as the B side. So
I don't think he wins, but I think it's a problem for Crawford. Like
absolutely.
I don't know if Crawford's regressed, but that last performance against Mean Machine, that was not good. Especially when the guy starts getting up in his 30s, or he's 32, 33 now. It's like this might be a decline for Crawford now. But we'll see in his next fight. Really, I think his next fight will be telling if he just fought a different fight than he usually does, or if there is a noticeable decline in Crawford at this stage of his career.
Here's the issue with Ugas in that fight. He will never win a decision against some of these guys because he just does not throw enough. Like that is just the end of the story with Ugas. He does not throw in combination enough. So he will lose rounds time and time again. That maybe he's landing the harder shots, but he's landing in single shots. So there's no buildup of momentum. There's no buildup of offense and consistent offense to where it's easy to see it within the round. And if I'm peppering with you with 40 jabs in a round, but you land 5 to 10 really hard shots, most people are going to give the guy that's landing 40 little tiny jabs because he's landing more. It's more consistent work. And Ugas just is not a worker in that sense.
I know this is not how you score a fight, but I think this is like an element of truth. Who would you, like Max Kellerman always says, who would you rather have been in that round? And that's the guy that won the round. I know there's criteria, and that's not quite it, but I think like that's kind of a fair assessment to score the round. And if I score 20 jabs on you and you land 7 power shots, I mean, who would you rather have been?
There's the thing. If you've been in the ring, some jabs fucking hurt.
Yeah, they do. You're right.
Like, I've been in sparring where like I've controlled a lot with my jab and I've been hit some hard shots, but I thought I've won the round. The other guy thought he won the round because he landed harder shots to the body or something, right? But I was like, no, I fucking pelted up with the jab for 3 minutes. You know,
when we get to Egypt Caramel, yeah, we'll talk about a good jab. That guy's got a shotgun jab. He's got a future in this division.
Didn't watch it, guys. I apologize. I tried. Could not find it.
That card besides that was so bad. It had just the club fighters and not good ones on the undercard.
Who do we think Crawford fights next? Do we think he fights this year?
I don't know. I mean, don't you want to fight? Like, do you want to take the whole year off? Don't you like stay sharp? Ugas is a hard fighter to stay sharp, so I think it's going to be a guy over there on the top rank side. I don't even know who they have. Because if they want to bring Ugas over from PBC, they're going to have to pay him. They're not going to do that. Who do they have? Ray Robinson?
Who does Top Rank have?
Out?
They don't have Ray Robinson. I think Ray Robinson's one of those guys like with Cameron.
They just use okay.
Kind of like a Jared Enos, where like he's not really with anyone in particular. He just has a really good manager.
I mean, they don't really have anyone at 147, which is the problem. I think he will. I don't know. I like Crawford, right? Because Crawford's like, well, you want me to take a pay cut? Okay, let's go to the contract. Nope, contract says I'm guaranteed this amount of money, but there's a pandemic. Let's look at the contract. Nope, no pandemic clause. Okay, pay me. Right? Like,
and here's also a thing. Like, if you're Crawford, you have so much leverage against Top Rank right now, because he is their number one star when it comes to TV viewership.
They got Fury too.
Did you really just say that?
You don't think so? I mean, Fury just did 800,000 pay-per-views.
Dude, he's never been on ESPN.
You're right. He's only been on the Dopey app and pay-per-view. You're right. You're right.
He has no viewership to go off of when it comes to Top Rank and ESPN.
I forgot those fights were on that Dopey app, which I don't understand.
And let's not forget that all those fights failed to do even $1 million at the gate.
Well, okay. You said TV draw. Yeah.
I'm pointing out just drawing pound now as well.
Yeah.
And also Fury, I think 2 of those fights, there was more comps than tickets sold. Just want to point that out as well.
Look who he fought, though. I mean, I'm a Fury fan. Like, I that was ridiculous. Swartz and what the
Otto Wally,
who everyone thinks is good because he almost beat Fury on cuts. That guy ain't good. A geek Caramel destroys him.
But digressing, Crawford has leverage because Top Rank's viewership has been an average of 300,000 viewers on average. Right? Like that's just what it.
3 and change, yeah.
And Crawford can come in here and do a 1.5 million easy.
Their basement and ceiling is 300,000 viewers. Like that's it. Like that's what they get.
And again, if you're Crawford and if they're sitting across from Carl Moretti and Bob Arum, and they're saying, "Hey, we want to you take a pay cut because we can't bring in gate and viewership is down," and you can say, "Look, viewership's down because I'm not fighting. First off, Loma's not fighting, so your 2 biggest stars aren't fighting, and to be honest, your only stars aren't fighting. Let's just be honest." No one in Top Rank stable has been able to produce consistently good numbers on ESPN. Not even Jose Ramirez. Okay? It's only been Crawford and Loma. They have the leverage. So if Top Rank comes and says, hey, take a pay cut, Crawford can come and say, look, no, you need me more than I need you. I can wait you out. I've made $4 million fighting bums time and time again. Okay? I'm good. I can wait here in Nebraska and sit at my home and play video games all day and be good. I don't need you right now. Like think about what his overhead cost to live is in Nebraska. Like honestly, like
oh, he's got plenty of money, and he's a country boy. He likes hunting and fishing, like, and that's not you could do that on the TV. But I don't think he has any money problems. Like he doesn't seem like a guy that lives extravagantly.
And what I'm saying is like he's also not living in like downtown Manhattan.
Yeah,
or, like downtown LA. Like, he's not living in these high rises. He's living in fucking Nebraska. Like, what leverage do you have, Top Rank? Your cards have been shit. The viewership has been shit. You need me. If I'm Crawford, you need me. I can come in here and bring in 1.5 to 2 million viewers right now. And guess what? Then you can go to ESPN and say, hey, we're not shit for you. Because how is ESPN and Top Rank's relationship right now? I always wonder about that.
Like, I mean, they can't be thrilled. But, like, half the time, I don't think ESPN cares about ratings, the garbage they put on. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think they can't be thrilled with it, right? But do they really care? Is it just a rounding error? I don't know, because everything is down. Like, they had the ESPYs. They were down, like, 80-something%. Like, wow. Like, there's no one watching sports right now. Which I was watching Serie A soccer.
Why would he watch the ESPYs right now? Like, what sports are there to give awards to?
Yeah. I mean, they're not even there, right? So everything is like remote, yeah, I mean.
And Scott Brown, same Masvidal, just sold 1.3 million on ESPN Plus, million pay-per-view buys on ESPN Plus with no other sports on. I will keep saying that Dave Meltzer did report that it was 875 instead of 1.3 million. But just, again, you're going to have that range in terms of sources and information. But digressing to that point, if you're a star and you're fighting in this day right now, I think it's been kind of proven that there is a boost in viewership if you're a star and the card is good. The UFC has shown that time and time again. And I think Crawford has been a consistent star pre-pandemic. So in this day and age, you would assume that that boost would exist for him as well. Right? If he's fighting on a Saturday and there's nothing on ESPN and you're scrolling, you see live boxing and it's Terence Crawford fighting Jared Enos, right, or something like that, you're going to tune in and watch it.
Jared Enos is a good fight. I'm just
and would be kind of a cheap B-side too.
What if they take him, have him fight Carlos Adames in a non-title fight at 154? Because he said he's interested in doing that. Like, they don't have anyone. Like, I could see them doing that. And they saw this. Crawford takes on his 4th weight class.
That's what sell it as. I can imagine what's his name? Brandon Orsuna or whatever his name is, right? Going off, or Joe Tessitore going off. I can imagine them all talking about it.
Tim Bradley's a total company guy, so he would. And I really like Bradley. He was one of my favorite fighters when he was fighting, but like, guy, enough with the slurping up of ESPN. We get it. Top Rank was good to you. They gave you Pacquiao money 3 times. I get it. Like, but come on, guy. Like, it was like watching the World Series on Fox when McCarver and Joe Buck. Like, McCarver was a Cardinal, and Joe Buck's dad was the announcer for the Cardinals for 1,000 years. It's like the Cardinals are so good, and Albert Pujols is good looking too. It's like, come on, guys, this is getting to be enough. Like, let's have some objectivity. I think Ward does a good job.
Yeah, but Ward's been kind of shit lately. You know why? Because he's fucking commentating for a lot of people he manages, and that really bugs me. I don't like that at all. I don't think he should be commentating anymore for that reason alone, to be quite honest.
At least not fighters that he manages, because Roy Jones managed the fighter when he was doing fights on HBO, and they took him out of the box, which makes sense, right? And then they came back on for the main event. Like, I mean,
yeah, that's some policy for that, to be honest. It doesn't fly for me anymore. I let it go at first, but it's become a little bit too much lately. And also, PSK in the chat is saying the A in Serie A isn't pronounced as the letter, but the sound ah.
I understand. I understand. But if I said that, I didn't think anyone would pick up on what I was talking about. But,
yeah, I mean, like 60% of our audience is from Europe.
Okay. All right.
To be honest. Maybe not 60. It's around 50-50. Depends. Depends on the topic. If it's AJ, it's like 70%, which is.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a super chat. Let me get to it really fast. Scott Brown saying over and under 420. I like the number. 1,000 pay-per-view buys with a decent co-main for Loma versus Teofimo Lopez. Under. I think Loma versus Teofimo Lopez will be lucky to do 300,000. That's just my opinion. Even with this pandemic boost and all the stuff that we can talk about as contributing factors to see a rise in these big peaks of viewership or buys we're seeing in the market right now. But I think even with a Loma fight, he's not pay-per-view. Like, I don't see him as a pay-per-view draw yet. And even guys that we've seen lately, like Wilder Fury, just turned in a great pay-per-view buy rate. That wasn't off first rip. The first time they did was 325. You know,
you want my hot take on that? I think Teofimo sells the pay-per-views. They could. He's got the personality for it, right? He's got the knockouts. You could put an awesome highlight reel together. Put him on First Take every day. Like, drill him in on ESPN. They have ESPN behind him, right? Like, because look, Lomachenko's a great fighter, Hall of Famer, but like we know what his ceiling is as far as selling, and it's not that high. I mean, it's good, but he's not a superstar as far as drawing power. Teofimo could be, right? He does the dopey dances, like the back flips. He's got like highlight reel knockouts against Comey and Magdaleno. Like,
here's the thing, I would agree with you if Teofimo Lopez was actually like that superstar prospect we want him to be. He's not. You can't point to any viewership that would show that. You really can't point to any attendance gate or number to point to that. Can't point to any social media metric to point to that. Like, he's a decent, draw at this point. But kind of unproven in a lot of aspects. Right, Gary? I mean,
yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't have any substance to back that up. It's just like the eye test. Like I see a superstar. I see the future. But I
think we all see him as having a lot of potential star power.
Yeah.
That is undisputable. No, don't get me wrong, Gary. We are, I think most people would agree that Teofimo Lopez has massive untapped potential star power there. But it's untapped. I mean, I just briefly looked at it. I know I'm going to sound like maybe a name redacted right now. But Instagram followers, right? I mean, Teofimo Lopez has 167,000 followers. Ryan Garcia has 6.7 million.
That's crazy. Right, and you look at the average basketball player, just like some random basketball player, like, give me a nondescript basketball player that comes off the bench. He's got 2 million followers. So just put that in perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like 100,000 seems okay for boxing, but like when you think of that, like compared to other sports, it's yeah.
I don't really see. I think Loma Teofimo Lopez is a hardcore fight in some way. Like, you're gonna get some people that are like, you're gonna get like the Damian Lillards of the world, right? That are big time celebrities to a degree. Like, they're B-level celebrities, right? What do you say, Damian? Is that accurate to say Damian Lillard's a B-level celebrity?
Yeah.
Okay. He's big enough boxing all the time on social media. You can get those types that talk about Loma Teofimo Lopez, but you're not going to get the A-listers that never talk about the fight talking about it. You're not going to really get, I think, ESPN pushing it like you want it to and like I want it to, Gary. To be honest, I don't think ESPN has really pushed Top Rank at all. And again, Loma is one of those guys that does produce very decent TV viewership time and time again. He's never been a draw at the gate, ever. So I don't see these guys being a combination of doing over 420,000 pay-per-view buys. If it does that number, it has capped out. That would be a sign of the pandemic boost that we're seeing with the UFC pay-per-views right now, right? Like, it would be a sign of a lot of different contributing factors that we've been talking about in terms of peak viewership in the sport right now. But that is still maybe unlikely because it's a 135-pound fight. It's Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, guys that we all know and love. But, Gary, if you called up like 10 of your normal friends, how many of them know either guy?
One. And
they might know might know Loma. And like just like a Loma and like not as Vasily Lomachenko. Might have to say that like Eastern European, that Russian, air quotes, that Russian boxer that's like the Matrix. You might have to describe him as some stuff, right? And then like, oh yeah, that guy. So that's usually the barometer I have of how successful this could be, or a pay-per-view could be, is if I could call 10 of my friends right now, how many of them would actually know this person? Maybe 1 or 2 would know Loma, and that's about it. Scott Brown talking about UFC fighters. Scott, don't make me talk about UFC because Gary doesn't know about it. Rob's gonna be bitching in the chat. Like, we just know how it's gonna be. UK Rob saying Ryan appearing on Jake Paul videos doing over 2 million views. Tio ain't that guy. It's not that Tio can't be that guy. He just doesn't have the connections that I see Ryan has created for himself.
I just wanted to point something out, right? I said nondescript basketball player. I just looked up Andre Drummond, right? He's a random player.
Dude, that was the basketball player I was thinking.
See, great minds think alike. He's got 1.2 million followers, right? Like, that's what average basketball players have. Andre Drummond, who can't hit a free throw. And
that 0.2 is bigger than all of Teofimo Lopez's.
Yeah.
And he has a cool million left over. It's just a different proportion, man. Like, Teofimo Lopez has potential. He's not there yet. And I don't think Top Rank has really been pushing him that way as well. I think a lot of promotions and managers are struggling to build stars right now in boxing. I think that's maybe a topic for another time, Gary, but I think that has been a reoccurring issue in the sport, that a lot of these executives have no idea how to put these fighters in the right spot. Those that do it organically on their own, like Ryan Garcia. He's going out there on Logan Paul videos. Do you think Oscar's the one setting that up?
No.
Maybe the zone is in a way, right? But that's probably because Ryan's the one working that angle to some degree. Same with Canelo to some degree. Same with Triple G. I've seen Triple G hustle rooms full of executives. I've seen that in person. You know, like those that have tried to get ahead in terms of being a star in some degree have to do it organically because a lot of these executives and promotions have no fucking clue as to how to actually build stars.
And
I'm not saying I have the magical answer because there is no magical answer. Some guys can be stars, some guys can't be. Some guys have the potential but never figure it out. Some guys don't have the potential but then become stars. Like it is very random at times.
right, it's like Pernell Whitaker was a great fighter, never a star. Floyd Mayweather was comparable skills. I don't know who was better. Like if they fought, I have no idea who would win. One guy was the biggest star in the history of boxing, or at least this era of boxing, and the other fought on HBO and did decent numbers. Right, like I mean.
And you can't. Pernell didn't have character too because he did have character.
He did.
Like it's just like some guys just make it, some guys don't. It is very odd that way.
Also, unlike Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia has endorsements because he doesn't beat women. That was the best shots fired. If you're Tank Davis, you just go away at that point, right? Like, don't even fire back. Just try to
delete the tweet and move on. That's hilarious. Good shit. Scott Brown saying people want good fights. I bet Loma versus Tio is a good fight. No, it absolutely. I mean, it's a great fight.
It's one of the best fights you can make.
I mean, in terms of like personal fights I want to see this year, we're probably not going to get. It's in my top 5. Maybe top 3, to be honest. Like it's up there, very high for me.
It's 2 on my list behind Crawford Spence.
Yeah, okay, realistic fights.
It might be number 1 then, right? Like really, like it's that good of a fight.
I still want to see Wilder Fury 3 a lot. What else? Well, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get it now, but Roman Gonzalez, Estrada.
That's up there too.
That was up there for me a lot. Trying to think of those. It might be 2 or 1 actually. Like it's one of the best fights you can make right now.
In a way, Rigo is on the list, even though that's probably not going to get made.
Oh, like a new Rigo, yeah. I agree. I think there's some other ones. I mean, Shakur Stevenson, Josh Warrington was that to some degree, but now they've diverted paths, so that's not going to happen.
He can't fight Mick Conlon either because Mick Conlon went down to 22.
I can't wait to talk about that. Yeah, I can't wait to make some Mick Conlon jokes. Cannot wait.
Now he's going to be a long reigning champion. That's all he had to do was go down to 4 pounds.
Yo, you think he's going to win up there? Yeah.
No, I don't think he's awful. I think he's an excellent amateur boxer who doesn't really have a pro skill set, right? Like that's what I think of him.
We get there, Gary. Hold up, we'll get there, okay? Digressing back to Loma Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, I think it maybe best prediction I could have is 250 in terms of pay-per-view buys. 250,000.
300 would be a reach. I don't think it hits 300 either.
Yeah, I just don't see it hitting that number. Moving on though, Gary, can pull up the Floyd Mayweather news. That's fantastic. Floyd Mayweather, as we know, ladies and gentlemen, his last. It was an exhibition, right? It wasn't a full-on. It's not on his BoxRec page, right? The Japanese fight he had. God, who did he fucking fight? Gary, help me out here. Come on. I'm thinking of random MMA Japanese fighters now, like Takanori Gomi. That's obviously not it. So, fuck, who is it? Tenshin Nasukawa. Nasukawa.
I would have never thought of that until you just said it.
Oh, Gary's shit's not loaded yet. Way to go. Yeah, that's why you should not exit out all the tabs, Gary. Never do that. Do you have like the warning that says, "Hey, you're about to close all tabs"? Do you want to do that?
No, it's just like
damn, Gary.
It gave me no warning.
Anyways, guys, we might have a fight as Ryzen's looking to make Floyd Mayweather versus Takashi Uchiyama. We have Yahoo Sports and AsianBoxing.com reporting this. I don't care about this, but I mean it's Floyd Mayweather, so I guess we gotta talk about it because it's Floyd Mayweather. Gary, do you care?
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit, man. And like, look, Takashi Uchiyama is like he's like a Jorge Linares, where like he's not a Hall of Famer, but like some of us like hipsters back in the days definitely said like, oh, he's a future Hall of Famer. I have no inclination to see them fight each other. Uchiyama was at 130 for his entire career, had some great fights, and retired 4 years ago when Jezreel Corrales beat him up twice. Right, like this, like he's been retired for a few years now at least. I don't want to see him fight Floyd Mayweather, a guy that's naturally 30 pounds bigger than him. Even in an exhibition, just to see Mayweather make $10 million, like that makes no sense to me. This is stupid.
Why does anyone want to see that? Like, I guess because it's Floyd Mayweather.
Well, Ryzen wants it because it's promotion. It's free publicity for them. I get as a company why you want Mayweather attached to you in the combat sports landscape, but no, this is dog shit. I'm not watching this. Speaking of not watching it, Gary. We're not going to watch the Julio Cesar Martinez fight because he's not fighting due to a non-COVID illness, per Jake Donovan and BoxingTeam.com. I will just say this. This was the only thing I was looking forward to was Julio Cesar Martinez. That was the only thing I had going for me this year. It sucks. It's rough.
Yeah. And it wasn't even a great fight. But
dude, Arroyo was going to get fucking slaughtered in that fight. It was going to be a bloodbath.
He's a pro, though. He's a good pro. I mean, yeah, you're right. He wasn't going to offer. I mean, he would have offered a little resistance, but you're right. It would have been mostly one-sided. So Tanahara versus I say Hester would have obviously. G, you say Gesta. That's the best fight so far during the pandemic era.
Michaela Mayer, Helen Joseph, that's up there for me.
Okay, yeah.
That's really up there for me. That's probably higher than Tanahara Gessa, at least from
just name value and
from a pure divisional perspective. Helen Joseph and Michaela Mayer are both top 10 fighters in the division. Tanahara and Gesta are not. So
Tanahara is.
He's on the top 10. He's on the top 10. Stop.
I had him on my top 10 when we did.
I know. I was stupid, and it's okay. Because his resume isn't better than Haney's or Ryan Garcia's or any of like the unproven prospects right now.
It's not much different.
Some of them have like Jason Villette.
No, Ryan Garcia is better, but it's not his resume is not much different than Devin Haney's.
Doesn't Haney have Edis Totali? That was a good
no,
one.
That's Tio. The best name on Haney's resume is probably Burgos, and it's the best name on Tanahara's too. Like this, Haney's got nothing decent on his resume. Mason Menard is the other name on his resume. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, he's got nothing on his resume. I mean, and Tanahara doesn't have a great resume either. But
did he? What about like didn't he fight what's that guy's name? Was it Eastern European, Russian, whatever? Starts with an A.
Who are we talking about? Haney?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Didn't he fight that guy? Guys, I'm so sorry, man. It's been one of those days. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, so that's all I've been caring about. Abrakadulev or whatever. Didn't he beat up that guy?
Is that a good name? Is that better than Burgos and Menard? I guess so. I mean,
he had some hype. His
Haney's resume might be slightly better. It probably is slightly better than Tanahara's. It is better. Come on. It
is better, and he's a better fighter too. So I mean, not just.
I think he's got a higher upside. If they fought today, I think Tanahara beats him.
Tanahara only has a jab.
Did you watch his last fight? He was scrapping on the inside. He was going to the body. He was doing a lot of good things. He's a jabber. I get it, right? Like, yes, that's what he's going to do. And he's not going to score many knockouts, right? Unless they're like the corner stops it from being one-sided, which Haney's dad might do. Whenever the dad is the trainer, they're gonna probably have a little closer. They're gonna keep a closer eye on it. And Tanahara would beat him up that bad, where that could happen. But he's not gonna like knock anyone out, right? He's not gonna ice anyone. He's not. I mean, he's not even gonna get to a point where he can. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, you say scrap on the inside, and then I go and watch Julio Cesar Martinez fight. I'm like, no, that's scrap on the inside.
Yes, he's going to box from the outside. He can fight in the mid range, and then we showed that in the Burgos fight, he can fight in the and he's not going to do it like Martinez. He can do it in spots when he has to because that's not his game plan.
I don't care. He's trash.
Okay, you're going to be singing a very different tune when he beats Devin Haney 120 to 108.
He could beat Haney. I'm okay with him beating Haney. Haney's not my guy at 135. It's T.O. You know that.
Yes, that would be T.O. would be a bridge too far. But Haney, I think, and Haney, I think 2-3 years from now could be the best of the bunch, but it's not right now.
Do you think Tanahara has the size to move up to 147?
No, he's done at 135. I've met Devin Haney. Devin Haney's probably got 15 pounds on him. Like, that's why he doesn't want to fight. Like, Devin Haney can move up to 140. Tanahara's done at 35. I'm pretty sure. He doesn't really have the power and the pop or the physical strength to move up, right?
Yeah, we all know that Tanahara did duck Haney. That's true. That is proven fact, right, Gary?
I don't know that he ducked him. The money wasn't right. I mean, do you think Ryan Garcia ducked Tanahara? Or do you think the money wasn't right?
You're not going to trap me in this one. Not today, Gary.
Not today, Gary.
Moving on. But speaking of today, though, today is the day, Gary. 7 months later. Okay, I have been vindicated, Gary. Air horns for me. And you know what topic I'm talking about. You better bring it up right now. Okay, air horns for me. Fuck you, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and all of his fucking weirdo fanboys that were in my comments saying, oh, he's never going to be suspended. Blah, blah, blah. Eddie's going to get away with it. Fuck all of you. Every single one of you, okay? Because Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is suspended indefinitely by Arizona and Nevada 7 months after he fought. So, I mean, maybe a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean completely ineffective in terms of regulation here. But hey, I'm right. He is suspended by Arizona and Nevada indefinitely. Fuck you guys.
I know it wasn't going to be the lead because we had a Canelo story and a Floyd Mayweather story.
Yeah, I'll be on.
This should have been the lead.
When I first read the story, I read it as Canelo. I read it as Canelo suspended indefinitely, right?
I read it as Julio Cesar Martinez because I wasn't even thinking Chavez, but like Julio Cesar Martinez was just in my mind. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think I just saw the C and I was like, oh no, Canelo suspended definitely. I'm like, fuck. And that's why I didn't respond to it, man. I'm like, I'm a Canelo fanboy. I have to theorize some defense for him right now. I can't have a public statement yet, you know? And then I read it again. I'm like, oh no, it's Chavez Jr. Fuck yes. Fuck that guy. And again, I'm only this irate about this news because of those weirdo people that were in our comment sections when we discussed this back in December and November and stuff like that last year. Because there was a lot of them that were quite adamant that I was completely wrong and I had no leg to stand on. I was very right in terms of everything that went down. And also, I was very right about the commission being very indecisive until after the fact. I predicted that this could happen. Like we saw it with Eric Morales and Danny Garcia, where Eric Morales was suspended after the fight, but they knew about his positive test beforehand, well in advance beforehand too. Similar to this case, though there wasn't a commission shopping issue with that one. The commission just literally hid the information and didn't talk about it until after the fight. This was the commission not wanting to deal with this. They wanted just to let the fight go on. And Arizona clearly had no inclination of actually upholding their fucking rules until after the fact. And this is a weird case because I don't know if this is probably the right time to bring in the issue with Nevada and how we will no longer be getting purse information from the Nevada State Athletic Commission. That disclosed purses will no longer be given to the media at all. There is significant issues with commissions, not only in our country when it comes to combat sports and sports overall, but worldwide. I mean, there's issues with UCAD and the British Boxing Board of Control that we've talked about before. And I would assume those issues persist in every local commission or national commission that we have around the world. The Japanese commission, the Brazil's Combat Sports Commission. Those all have long cases of issues. I do think that. Sorry, I just want to finish this rant I have here. I do think there is a vital need from commissions in terms of what they do. They just time and time again fail to uphold their duty. And it's very fucking sad because they are like the last line of defense in terms of keeping fighter safety intact, keeping the sport clean, so to speak. They are the final line. And they routinely say, not our job. We're bucking the ball. And that's fucking sad.
So, like, really one thing. Like, I despise that, right? Why is Nevada... It's public information. If they have it, it's public information. So why are you not disclosing it? Like, it's like the president. Oh, I don't want to release my tax returns. Well, I mean, you kind of... We're requesting it. Like, I mean, you work for me, right? Like, if it's public information, I want to see it. Right, like I'm the guy who, like, when the cops are down the block, I FOIA request all the information. Like, I want to know what's going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a Freedom of Information Act for the. I knew.
Yeah. Thank you I was about to explain what it was, but thank you.
Because I'm that guy, right? Like, I'm the cop watcher, right? Like, I want to know what you did, right? Like.
By the way, maybe we're talking about this maybe later, but have you been seeing what's going down in Portland?
I've been trying not to watch the news because it's depressing me, but I've seen, like, I know what's going on, but not in great detail.
Bro, I'll send you some links. But anyways, back to you.
I just, like, what, you're hiding something then, right? Like, if you won't show it to me, it's public information. You're hiding something. What are you hiding? Right? There's no reason to not. If the state, if Nevada has it, if the Nevada State Commission has it, then I want to see it. Especially if I live in Nevada, like I'm paying for you to record that information. Do not hide it from me.
You saw me and Cop going at it on social media, right? About that.
Yeah.
For those that didn't see that, me and Mike Coppinger got a little bit into it on social media because he said it was a good move, in his opinion, that this information was no longer going to be disclosed to the media because it was fake information or fake news, as a lot of his followers went on to say. First off, incomplete news is not fake news, right? Like, we know that there's backroom payouts to fighters all over the place. That doesn't make disclosed purses fake news. It makes it not complete news. That then falls on your job, Coppinger, to complete the news. That's kind of how it works here. And plus, I mean, this is fucking obvious here. Any journalist that's not a complete fucking hack is for transparency and for more transparency, especially from government agencies. So I have a lot of opinions about Mike Coppinger nowadays, and that's been sort of evolving into this opinion. And this was kind of the final straw. Where, like, yeah, he's just a fucking hack. Like, he is an access media sycophant. And it's kind of sad because he has a lot of followers. Like, he does have a lot of power in this media space. Like, we don't maybe think about it, but he does. And he only uses that power for his own purposes and routinely covers for both the wrongdoings of these government agencies and these corporate executives. So, again, Cop, you're a corporate fucking hack, and you need to stop doing that. Thank you. That's my PSA for today. I mean, how do you fucking, like, say, like, oh, it's good move, government. We want less transparency. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm for full transparency. Like, as a stockbroker, every single one of our phone calls was recorded, right? So if there was ever a dispute, just We should have that for government agencies. Every call recorded. I want to hear what happened. And if you delete it, we got a problem, right? Like, I'm for full disclosure. Like, why are you hiding things?
I am for the complete ownership of both the government and the economy of the people. So, like, the people own the government, people own the economy, people own everything. We own it, right? Like, we own you in a sense in terms of the government. So yeah, we're gonna audit your shit whenever we want. That's just, I think, how it should be. And again, if you're unhappy with the idea of disclosed persons not being complete information, then your argument should not be we don't want any information now. Your argument should be we want those backroom payouts to now be disclosed. Is there any way to get the in legislated form, either per state or on the national level and the federal level, to where we can get those disclosed? If that's what you would be doing as a journalist instead of saying we don't want information.
Right, but that's going to be like nearly impossible because it's back room. It's like, well, show me the money that you didn't report on your income taxes. Well, no, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, but I would assume if you talk to some economists, some tax experts, there's some loopholes they can fix when it comes to these commission reports and stuff, where you can get more of the total payout disclosed. Maybe not all of it, but more of it. Yeah. I just think that, again, it was just really sad to see arguably one of the biggest media members in boxing go, yeah, good move, government. We need less transparency. It's fucking just sad. It really is. And that's like when we talk about, because we've had this conversation a lot on the show, Gary, and I know our listeners have had this conversation in the chat a couple times about just the issues of boxing media. Like, that's the significant issue right there. Like, you want to know why like nothing ever gets sort of figured out when it comes to like investigative journalism? Because like that's one of our biggest journalists in the sport, and he's saying, I don't want information. Moving on. Fucking hack. Let's move on to good old Keith Thurman. Saying that he's going to fight Kell Brook. Or no, he's saying that he wants Kell Brook to send a contract and wants to fight in the UK. I so don't care about this fight. I mean, this is a fight that would have been the best fight in the division 4 years ago. Not even 4 years ago, like 3 years ago. Right, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, 3-4 years ago, right before the Spence fight, however long ago that was. Mm-hmm. I can't find this tab. I don't think I ever.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Whoa, is your kid like having like a Hulk smash?
I don't know. He doesn't like that he can't come into my office. Like he's throwing a fit because he can't come into my office. He comes into my office and destroys it, but I don't really care because it's my son. I'll just have my wife clean it up. What? I mean, I would have been.
I so wish I have like your interactions with your wife recorded when you guys have audio issues and you're just like begging her for help. God, it's the funniest shit ever. It is so stereotypical, like dopey husband, like needing help from the wife. Like, it is so perfect, Gary. Like you're almost Homer Simpson in that moment. It's fantastic. I love it. I mean that in it's totally endearing way. I hope you understand that. I think all men are like that to some degree with their significant others, but I'm just saying it is so perfect with Gary and his wife. I wish I had it on video. But digressing, Thurman and Kell Brook, it's a fight that would be fun. It makes some sense. Both guys coming off losses. Don't really know where either guy's at in their career at this point. So, I mean, competitively, it makes sense, but it just doesn't have the same impact or legacy that it could have had 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's still a good fight, and I think it's still a competitive fight, although I would pick Thurman now, whereas 4 years ago I would have picked Kell Brook. Yeah, I mean, the winner would...
You pick Kell Brook now?
No, I picked Thurman now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
4 years ago I would have picked Kell Brook. If they would have did this back in 2015, or 2016, I would have picked Kell Brook. We've had this conversation before, and even Rob would have picked them, but I think Kell Brook was too skilled. Like, he's the better pure boxer. I think, Thurman's the better athlete. He's the better, he's obviously the bigger puncher, but I think Kell Brook wins enough rounds to beat him. I don't know why that's ridiculous.
Kell Brook never struck me as like he is head and shoulders the best boxer in the division. That I never saw that. I saw a very complete fighter. Like a fighter out of the lab, right? He does everything really well. Like he's a B+ in everything. Right? And I think he's one of those guys where he doesn't do one thing that's great. He doesn't do two things that's great. He does everything really, really good. A little bit like Mikey Garcia in a way. I don't mean that disparaging. I know I do that in a disparaging way, but I mean that in a positive way now.
No, I think that's an excellent analysis. I think that's a perfect that's a great comparison.
I think he's a guy that has really good power in both hands, not lights out power in both hands, but good power.
Yeah.
Great jab, great fundamentals, great sense of timing and space, or good sense of timing and space, I should say. And again, he's just a B+. He's an 88, 89 out of 100, right? Thurman, to me, might be the same rating, but he has a few things that I see as just being greater than Kell Brook, if not just purely really good, if not great attributes. I think his power is great comparative to Brook. I think his lateral movement is great compared to Kell Brook. I think Keith Thurman's ability to adapt in fights is great compared to Kell Brook.
I still don't think he jabs enough, but
no, I mean Thurman does not jab enough at all. Like there's some things he doesn't do. Like I said, he might be an A- in some things and a B- in some things. You know what I mean? In others. Well, Kell Brook is just purely a B+ across the board.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You understand what I'm saying? So I've always thought that specialists, to some degree, and I think Thurman's a little more of a specialist than Kell Brook, have a leg up on the more basic guys. I've always thought that. Okay. Even though I've seen, Marco Antonio Barrera beat out Prince Nassim Hamed. Like I time and time again, I see more of the specialists having the advantage.
And a pressure fighter like Morales beat him twice on 3 of the best fights I ever saw. But he got 2 of them.
So I just don't see Kell Brook being the guy to. I could never pick him to beat Keith Thurman. I could see a path of victory, obviously, but it would be a hard path. There would be a path of like he's winning a tough, competitive 7-5 fight, right? Where he might get hurt, Thurman might get hurt, but like it's a tough fight. I've never seen him dominating the fight or convincingly winning the 7-5 or 8-4 decision. I can see Thurman getting on his bike and just laterally, kind of like Crawford Postal to a degree. Where like Thurman just shows he's just better than Kell Brook at one thing. And that one thing will let him win all or most of the rounds. Like convincingly.
Do you think Brook could be first of all, what weight would this fight be at? Because Brook kind of doesn't want to make 147 and Thurman's gonna have a real tough time at this point.
This should be a great fight to like experiment with 154 for both guys a little bit more, especially Thurman. Because like why cut the extra weight right now in a pandemic?
I just with the size of the 154 pounders, I think all of like Porter, Garcia, all these guys are going to have a real difficult time at 54 because they're going to be at a size deficit, especially Thurman, who's not tall. Like you can fight.
Sorry, Rubisky correct me saying, Matt, you said they're both coming off losses, but Brook was one of his last 3 fights. You're right. You corrected me. I apologize. I will say this though: all 3 of those fights kind of equal like a loss in terms of like how it matters to me. They're that forgettable. But you're right. He is on a 3-fight win streak. I just want to erase all those fights from my memory. Those are very bad fights. And I'll be honest, those are the type of fights where like you don't think Kell Brook is going to be a top 5 guy again. I don't think so. Like he might beat Danny Garcia.
I was going to ask you Ugas.
I pick Ugas against Kell Brook right now.
I don't know. I'd go back and forth. That's real close. I don't know who I'd pick in that fight. I'd have to.
Manny Pacquiao beats Kell Brook right now.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that.
If I pick Thurman to beat him and Pacquiao beat Thurman, although I do think Thurman would win a rematch, obviously I'm going to pick Pacquiao to beat him.
Triangle theory doesn't work in boxing. So
You're right.
You could work out that way. You can do that. It's just be harder to argue. Moving on. Let's get to this new WBO rankings and news. as Emmanuel Navarrete versus Jesse Magdaleno is looking likely for the vacant featherweight title, since Michael Conlan is no longer ranked at featherweight and is now ranked at super bantamweight and is right behind Stephen Fulton and Angelo Leo as they're fighting for the belt. Gary, your thoughts on both Navarrete Magdaleno first and then Conlan going down to 122 and fighting the winner of Stephen Fulton, Angelo Leo potentially?
I'm a big fan of Stephen Fulton. I think he's got really good skills. I think Fulton wins that fight and would dominate Mick Conlan. You guys know what I think of Mick Conlan. I think he's
either Stephen Fulton outboxes Michael Conlan easily,
which is what I'm saying.
8-4, 9-3, Stephen Fulton just dominating the fight, or it's Angelo Leo beating up Michael Conlan and finishing him within 10 rounds.
Yeah, Angelo Leo would definitely finish him, and Stephen Fulton. You're saying 8-4, 9-3. I think a 10-2, 12-0 kind of fight. I just don't see Mick Conlan is an amateur style. He throws a bunch of punches, he tries to score, but he doesn't set anything up. There's no I don't see any strategy. Okay, I'm gonna go to the body, and then there's nothing there. It's just an amateurish kind of style. It's perfectly suited for a 3-round amateur fight. Just win the rounds by throwing a lot of punches, landing here, throw some combinations. But there's no setup. There's no reason or rhyme for any of the punches that he throws other than just trying to score.
No, I agree with you completely. Thoughts on? I'll say this also. Michael Conlan is not successful in any top 5 of any division. So he can lose as much weight, he can gain as much weight. It doesn't matter. I don't think Michael Conlan's ever going to be an actual champion unless they find him a vacant title fight with an easy fight. And obviously he couldn't get that at 126. He saw Navarrete. Now it's his guy to fight for the vacant belt. Not fuck that. Nope. Going to 122. Oh, it's so perfect. I love it. Thoughts on Navarrete Magdaleno? Is that just going to be a Navarrete, decision win kind of an affair?
I don't know why Navarrete can't stop him. Dogbay did.
Yeah, but you're right. I would say Dogbay per punch has more power, right? In one punch, Dogbay has more power than Navarrete. But I could see Navarrete swarming Magdaleno and through volume and pressure, getting him out of there via TKO. That's absolutely possible.
And then we're gonna get Navarrete versus Dogbay, and then we're gonna go through that
at 126. Is that everything going to happen?
Yeah.
No,
although Dogbay's real short, I don't know if they can move him up. He's 5'3". He's just stocky. He's built like Tank Davis, but a one.
Here's what we're having next, okay? Or maybe not exactly next, but in the near future, after Navarrete beats up Magdaleno, is a Josh Warrington Navarrete fight. That would be a fight of the year contender. ESPN bubble, so to speak, because I think Frank Warren and ESPN still have some deal together, though I could be wrong about that. I would bet money on that fight happening and that fight being a good fight.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's it.
Otherwise, I don't see him fighting Gary Russell Jr. Maybe a Shu Shan. That'd be a fun fight.
You could do that.
Both, high volume, high aggression guys. Who else?
I think Navarrete was probably the best guy at 122, which is really why I wanted to see him fight Brandon Figueroa. But that's gone now. But
Figueroa can move up. He's a big guy.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's done for now because I imagine Figueroa's going to stay at 122 for at least another fight or two. But it could happen in the future, which I would love to see. I've totally lost my train of thought. This is getting bad.
It's okay. It's happening.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at the topics we're talking about. It's okay. Last topic of the day, then we're going to get the fuck out of here, guys. I'm going to go back to playing Ghost of Tsushima and watching Akira Kurosawa films. I watched Seven Samurai last night. Have you watched any of those old Japanese movies?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So good. So good. Watching Throne of Blood tonight. Yes. I love me some Macbeth too. I'm one of those weird kids at school that read Shakespeare. So anytime you adapt Shakespeare in media, I geek out about it. Even The Simpsons adapting shit. Hamlet, Simpsons, fuck yeah. I'm down for it. By the way, that's my second Simpsons reference on this show. It's because I've been watching Simpsons again because it's on Disney Plus. Just saying, not a lot of boxing going on. Speaking of boxing, though, UK Prime Minister, shout out to fascist dipshit Boris Johnson, saying stadium audiences back in October. So AJ Pulev with an audience in a stadium. What do you think, Gary?
Let's just get this up. Sure. Yes. Let's just get it over with. Whatever. Like, nobody go to that fight. I know it's Anthony Joshua, and I get it. Like, fight is and it's not here like Pulev is like Pulev is the Jamal James of the heavyweight division. Like, he's fine. He's good. Like, he's not gonna win. Like, just like Jamal James wouldn't beat Keith Thurman or Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence or Terence. But like, it's like, okay, he's earned himself a title shot, I suppose, right? Like,
damn, the Jamal James slander. I don't know if I'm offended because like you're largely right, so I'm just gonna let it slide. Yeah, I mean, I am again. Whenever we hear this stuff, it's like I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see on that one. Like they were gonna say that the big new Christopher Nolan movie Tenet was gonna come out next week, right? And they were saying like, no, it's gonna come out. We promised it's gonna come out. Today they said, yeah, it's not coming out, guys. It's postponed indefinitely. So I think whenever we hear these announcements, I kind of take it for a huge grain of salt right now because it's like in October, God knows what everything looks like. God knows if doctors and scientists are saying, yeah, this would be a good idea. So wait and see. And also wait and see if it even happens. Even if they say like we can do this in areas or the UK saying, yeah, this part of the UK, we can have a stadium show, whatever it may be. Let's wait and see if they actually do it. I'm curious about that as well. You've been hearing any of the stories of the NBA bubble and people getting in trouble already?
I mean, I hadn't heard the story because I really haven't been paying attention. And I love the NBA, but like this bubble thing, like I know they're going to lose a ton of money, which is why they don't do it. But why don't they just say, guys, go home, we'll see you in November? Like the season's canceled because they're going to lose $900 million in playoff revenue. I get it, but this is so silly. Like, do you see, like, the Brooklyn Nets? They obviously don't have KD and Irving. They sent home Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan, Wilson Chandler. It's like, what do you, like, come on, guys. Like, this is, and I said, what if the Lakers, your team, or the Clippers, right, let's say the Lakers, get through the last 8 games, they get through the first round of the playoffs, they get through the second round of the playoffs, and then they have to play the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. And AD and LeBron test positive. It's like, okay, go home. Like, so obviously they're going to lose. But do the Clippers take any solace in that? Like, yeah, we beat the Lakers, but they didn't have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. It's like, that doesn't count. It's not like they were injured and injuries happen like when Kawhi Leonard got hurt. It's like they tested positive for a virus. Like, and they were sent home. It's not like Michael Jordan was like, okay, man up and play. Like they're not going to let him play. He's not allowed to play for good reason. It's like, just send him home. We'll see you in November, guys. We'll see you next season.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But anyways, guys, that's it for today's show. Like I said, I'll be back on tomorrow, probably earlier than this time. I'm going to be on probably like 12 or like noon Pacific Standard Time. Probably. That's not guaranteeing the timing for tomorrow, but for sure tomorrow, MMA show, UFC show tomorrow. Going to be talking obviously about the pay-per-view buy rate of last week, all of the cards that I missed, so to speak, in terms of reviewing, and plus some news and rumors and stuff like that in the fight game. You can find me and Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. It's down there below on the screen. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Gary, final thoughts?
It was a good show. It was we got through the topics that were kind of weak, and I think we did a good job. What do y'all think? Do you think for the topics we were given, the hand we were dealt, we made the best of it?
We had some super chats. Shout out to Santiago and Scott Brown with the super chats. Santiago saying, Matt, I'm gonna probably correct this. I think you misspelled and had some autocorrect issues. How was your first playthrough on the game? Is there any new play style? The game's amazing. I'm telling you, if you like video games and you like RPGs, go get Ghost of Tsushima. If you have an Xbox, throw that shit out and buy a PlayStation so you can get this game. Somebody say.
This show was like we were dealt a 2 and a 7 in Hold'em, and we're like, you know what? We're gonna play it.
We let it ride.
And let it ride. And I think we did okay with it. Find me in all forms of social media. 3D Boxing, 3D Boxing blog. From Texas to the world. Thank you and God bless.
What would be the hand we got in the river and all that? Would it just be a pair of sevens?
we got I was gonna say a pair of twos, but yeah.
Woo! We're in the pot now. All right, guys, have a good day. Peace.